Hi, my name's Felix, and I did wake up today and decide I wanted to look like Jennifer Garner in 13 going on 30. My mom was born in the 70s, so she grew up in the 80s, and she really hates this. My bangs do look a little poopy, but that's okay. This is gonna be a little bit of a looser video. I don't have a script. Someone on my Calvin Guerra video commented suggesting that I look at the subreddit r/tumblrinaction. I have it open on my Chromebook. So today we're just going to take a gander. I've never looked at this subreddit before. I have no idea what it is. Alright, I found something good already, and I think I'm getting a sense of what kind of subreddit this is. I'll read it to you guys. Women are allowed to have opinions, but as soon as we disagree with the general consensus, we're suddenly being manipulated by the men in our lives and just naive. The next person says, feminists are the only people who ever tell me I'm not equal. And the next person says, I've never seen more people try to remove someone's agency than when a group of feminists find a woman who disagrees with them. Everything immediately ceases to be under her control, because if it was, she'd agree with them. They try so hard to explain away her ability to make decisions that the image they construct of her is something less than human, so controllable it is by evil patriarchy. Okay, so first of all, first thing this reminds me of is when a country in Europe tried to, I think, maybe it was France, tried to ban women wearing bikinis on the beach. Feminism as a whole is a pretty tough subject to broach because it's perceived in a lot of different ways in pop culture. But what I will say is I think feminism is not about women hating men and never having children and never loving men or living with men. I think that's a really warped version of feminism. But the people who do preach that version of feminism are always the loudest. Okay, that is to say that women should be able to make their own decisions, and you can be a traditional housewife and you can also be a feminist because it's about the woman's right to choose the life she lives. If a woman is happy with her life, great. It's not a feminist duty to come drag her out of her home and her 3 kids and husband and turn her into someone she's not. If she's happy where she is, then that's her choice, and that's the core of feminism, in my opinion. So I'm kind of getting a little bit of a weird vibe from this subreddit already. Here's another promising one. The title of the post is, all writers have to like their fan bases or they're self-entitled, say people without a sense of irony or self-awareness. And it is a screenshot of a Twitter post, and the woman's name is blocked out, but it says smug writer with pronouns in her bio. Okay, side note, I really don't get all the ire around having your pronouns in your bio. Who does that hurt to have your proper pronouns? Anyway, the tweet itself says, there's for sure a weird thing that happens when dudes think they're writing for other dudes, but then it turns out they're actually writing for women, and instead of being wow, okay, neat, love a big passionate audience, they get very mad and need to punish. I'm realizing that there's actually a lot of text underneath this talking about the tweet, but I'm gonna skim over that and just give my own opinion of this. I think this is true. I think that when men who think they're appealing to other men with their content find out that their audience is mostly women, it's almost emasculating for them. They think oh my god, women like what I'm doing? Oh, must mean I'm doing something wrong. Okay, moving on. Broaching the subject of cultural appropriation. This person says, how the fuck a white person gonna tell me that others are appropriating my own culture? Sit down. Making tacos is not offensive to any Mexican on this planet. Enjoy them. Literally, WTF are y'all on? Okay, like anything that people say is offensive to a minority, if a minority says it's offensive to them, then you as a white person cannot say that it's not offensive because you're not the offended group. And I guess this post is about it going the other way. If a minority says that they're not offended by something, it's not up to white people to decide that it's offensive so that they can gatekeep other white people. So bottom line, respect it when minorities say that they're offended by something. I think it's that simple. Another good one, a tweet that says, can you be racist against white cis males? And if you can they do anything against it? Let me say right now that racism depends on a power imbalance between two groups. Prejudice does not. So, for example, Black people can't be racist because they haven't systematically been oppressing white people for generations. White people are racist when they do prejudiced things against minorities because they've been oppressing those minorities for a very long time. So without power, you can't be racist. That being said, you cannot be racist against a white cis male. Don't know why the cis part is included there, but you can't. Sorry guys, you can't claim to be victimized there. Here we go, Facebook post. The disrespect Hollywood has for Black lead characters in animations. You can't even be Black for the entire film. Not marketable enough. Okay. I think there definitely is a problem with representation of people of color in animated films. And in just pop culture in general, there's not enough representation of people of color. And this reminds me of, it's not the same as, but it reminds me of gay couples or characters dying in movies. It's like the writers don't want to make it a sustainable thing. Same with, not same, but similar to Black characters in animation being turned into an animal that is clearly not a race, it's an animal. And I think that it is a loophole because, and I say that because it's a repeated thing. And there are so many animated movies about white people where they don't get turned into animals. It's interesting that it happens very often when a person of color is on screen. Tiana from The Princess and the Frog is, I think, one of Disney's only princesses of color, and the fact that she's not even technically of color in most of the film is pretty interesting to me. It suggests that white writers would rather watch a frog than a Black person be on screen in one of their movies. It should change. This is a screenshot from an article. Just as a warning, I do mention sexual assault in the next couple minutes, so just a heads up for anyone who that might trigger. It says, you would probably enjoy being sexually harassed. Males don't have to suffer. Calling someone a male, really? Don't do that. The annoyance, trauma, and shame of constant sexual harassment. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't love it. There isn't a man alive today, nor has there ever been a man in world history who's had a problem with being treated like a sex object. Feminism does not support misandry. This is don't sexually assault anyone. Men should not be sexually assaulted. Men would not enjoy being sexually assaulted, just like no one would enjoy being sexually assaulted. It's not true that men are these hypersexual creatures who like need sex to live, the same way that women are supposed to be like virgins until they're married. That's not true. And men shouldn't be expected to be hypersexual. Men should not be sexualized in the way that the patriarchy sexualizes women. That is not the answer. Stopping female sexual assault by sexually assaulting men is also not the answer. The answer is stop sexually exploiting and sexually assaulting people. Stop sexualizing people in an unwelcome way in general. This was written by someone who thinks they're a feminist but is not, because a true feminist would absolutely not say that. This one says, non-binary people are trans. Non-binary people deserve to be able to transition medically if they wish to. Non-binary people deserve to have their dysphoria treated. Non-binary people deserve their gender identity to be taken seriously, for fuck's sake. I don't see a problem with this at all. If you don't identify with the gender you were assigned at birth, I'm 99% sure that that makes you trans because you're transitioning from one to the other. I don't know what about that the person who posted this doesn't understand. And why shouldn't non-binary people deserve to be able to transition medically if they want to? What's the problem with that? Like, why do we care? Just let the person get treatment. It really is, it affects you in no way at all. Okay, white supremacy in the green movement. Questions to ask yourself. I'm only gonna read a few. Is my sustainability rooted in discount consumption like thrifting, potentially taking resources from low-income people? Do I judge those who may be unable to afford sustainable goods? Is my activism rooted in shaming people who aren't doing enough or uplifting people to do what they can? Are the green influencers / advocates on my feed all thin, white women? I think that there's a lot of truth to this. I think that pretty often, white people are the ones who have the resources to pay for more sustainable goods. Because under capitalism, those sustainable goods cost more due to their sustainability. The money that goes into producing that sustainable good makes it more expensive. So pretty often, white people with a lot of resources are the ones that can afford those sustainable goods. I think there's a lot of white people in the sustainability movement, and I think that impacts the way that the sustainability movement is judged. And I think it's important to be conscious of that and be welcoming to people of color. And that also means not judging people of color if they can't afford sustainable items. And that also ties into, is my activism rooted in shaming people who aren't doing enough? Sometimes people just don't have the money to pay for sustainable things. They shouldn't be shamed for that. It's not within their means. And shaming them for that, they can't help it. They literally cannot. So I don't see the point in that. And it just is another way of creating this holier than thou, like, oh my god, this white girl has a reusable bag when she goes to Trader Joe's. Isn't that so amazing? TikTok comments, always a source of good content. Original poster says, European culture is white culture. Someone else responds saying, then what is European culture? Please explain. Give me at least one example. Next person says, European culture is a blanket term used to describe every culture that's native to Europe. If I should give examples, classical music, knights, castles, ballerinas, and Catholicism. Next person says, can I still get an example though? Next person says, I already gave examples. Next person says, where? Okay, this reminds me of white pride. There is no such thing as white pride. People say, well, why can people have like black pride and I can't have white pride? You can have fucking like Irish pride, Scottish pride, French pride, whatever country you're from. When you're saying white pride, all you're priding yourself in is not being not white. There's no such thing as white pride or white culture at all. I'm going to be discussing sexual assault, so if you don't want to see that, skip ahead like a couple minutes. I'll put markers in the description. It says, not to be a downer, but if I had to, at 12 years old, listen to my mother tell me all the different ways men would want to hurt my body and how I might prevent that, then I really feel like teenage boys can handle a conversation with their parents that starts, let's talk about consent. Everyone who comments, but women rape too, on this post and other posts like it, please either learn how to have genuine sympathy for rape and abuse victims or go die. Okay, I will say a little bit of an extreme delivery, but I don't think it's unwarranted. I think that there are a lot of problems around young men and consent. I think that it's not discussed enough in pop culture. There's a lot of media that depicts sexual interactions without any consent explicitly stated, and I think that the state of the world we are in show healthy relationships with consent, so people don't assume that you can have a sexual interaction without consent. The thing that says, everyone who comments, but women rape too. If you're only bringing up the fact that women may rape men, which is true, women have raped men and it's just as wrong as men raping women, but it's not as widespread a problem as men raping women. That is not to say that it's not a problem, but if you're only bringing it up when people are talking about men raping women, do you really care about it or do you just want to be a contrarian? Okay, final impressions of this subreddit. I don't think I like it. I agreed with some things, I disagreed with others. I think this is just a lot. I'm gonna assume, I think this is a lot of white guys cherry picking extreme SJWs and claiming that reverse racism exists, which it doesn't. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I've never done anything like this before, so it might have been a little bit disjointed, but thank you, and I'm excited to make more content for you guys. The support on my Calvin Guerra video was really unexpected to me, but I'm really enjoying doing this, and I have some more video ideas in mind. I hope I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night. Wear your masks.